Hello, my dear ones. Get comfortable, pour yourself some tea. Today, we're not just having a video, we're having a conversation. The kind that I feel will strike a chord with many of you. And I want to begin with one story. Not long ago, I was at the wedding of a mutual acquaintance. You know how it goes: a big hall, music, unfamiliar faces, and you quietly study the guests. And at the next table sat two women. I later learned they were both exactly 60. Same city, same courtyard, can you imagine? They'd even lived almost next door to each other. Similar lives, work until retirement, then the garden, grandchildren, endless household chores, pots, vegetable beds, worries. Same climate, and in fact, very similar fates. But between these two women, it was as if 20 years had stretched out. One looked no older than 48, light, straight-backed, with a lively, curious gaze, as though she were turned entirely toward life. The other looked all of 70, dull, heavy, as if she were carrying every year she'd lived on her shoulders, plus a little more. And I sat there, unable to look away. Same age, same air, the same 60 years behind them. Where, at what moment, did one of them turn toward younger and the other toward older? And the main question, the reason I've brought all this up: can you turn back? If you already feel you've taken the wrong path, can you turn around? I'll tell you straight away, yes, you can. And today, we're going to work through how. But let's agree on the format first. This isn't going to be another checklist in the style of do this, do that, do the other. There are already more than enough of those lists online, and frankly, they're of little use. What we're going to do is take things apart. For real, calmly. I'll lead you from the surface to the depths, from what catches the eye in the first few seconds to what works so quietly, yet more powerfully than everything else. There will be 5 things. 5 factors that separate looks younger from looks older, and they'll be arranged like a staircase, each one deeper than the last. And now I want to deal with the main objection right away, right at the start, because I can already hear some of you thinking, well, what are you telling me? It's all genes. Some people are lucky with their parents and look good, and I wasn't so lucky. My dear ones, I've deliberately left genes out of our list, and I'll explain why now. Genes do matter, I won't argue with that. They set the structure, the shape of your face, the oval, your skin type, the way your hair falls, your posture by nature. That's your basic framework, the foundation you were born with. But here's the thing. Nature does its part by about 40. By 40, it's already given you everything that's built in. And after that, it's about how a woman uses all of it. And that's where genes are no longer in the driver's seat. That's where you're the one behind the wheel. I've seen so many women with what seemed like an ordinary appearance, with no gifts from nature to speak of, who at 60 look fresher and younger than those everyone envied in their youth. And I've seen the opposite too. So let's be honest. Genes set the starting point, but you choose the road. And that's the road we're going to talk about today. And that brings me to my first small but important request. Please write in the comments which side you're on. Do genes decide everything? Or not really? I'm genuinely curious what you think, and I'll definitely read it. And at the same time, it'll help other women see that they're not alone, that this question troubles many of us. So don't be shy, just write it as it is. And one more thing. Since we've agreed to move from surface to depth, I want to tease you a little right away. The most important factor, factor number 1 from our 5, I'll name at the very end. And here's what I promise you. Almost no one guesses it. Because it's not about what people usually think. It's not about clothes, not about cream, and most important of all, it's not about money at all. Not at all. You can be a very poor woman and still have this factor in full. And you can have enough money to buy anything you want and not have it at all. So, my dear ones, please watch to the end. I know everyone's time is worth its weight in gold these days, and there's never enough of it. But these few minutes, I'm sure, won't be wasted, because what we're going to talk about doesn't require huge spending, enormous effort, or trips to expensive specialists. It's all available to every single one of us, right today, right now. I want you to watch this video not as a student being sternly told by a teacher how to live. No. I want you to feel as if I'm simply sitting next to you in the kitchen, the two of us like girlfriends, and I'm sharing what I've noticed over my life and over years of working with women. No lecturing from above. I've been through a great deal myself. I've understood a great deal through my own mistakes, and I just want to share it with you kindly. So, breathe out, relax your shoulders. Maybe you're sitting hunched over right now and don't even notice it. Well, good that you noticed. By the way, that's already a little clue about what we'll talk about a bit later. For now, get comfortable. We're about to start descending our staircase, step by step. And the first step is the closest, the most visible one. What a person reads from your face in a split second, before they've even had time to think. We'll start there. So, let's go down to the first step. The first factor is everything within 15 to 20 centimeters of your face. Remember that distance. Hair, its color and softness, the neckline, earrings, a scarf, a collar, and especially, glasses. That small frame around the face decides the first impression in a split second, before a person has even had time to notice your figure, your bag, your shoes, before they've thought anything about you at all. The eye catches the face and what surrounds it, and if that frame is heavy, unflattering, not right for you, it drags everything else down, no matter how well dressed you are. I'll tell you a very real story. It's right in front of my eyes. Once I was standing in line at a bank. Boring, everyone shifting from foot to foot, and in front of me was a woman about 65. Neat, clean, clearly looking after herself, not neglected in the slightest. But she was wearing glasses, a heavy, dark frame, wide, weighty, and clearly too large for her. It was literally sliding down and covering half her face. And you know what happened? The entire upper part of her face became heavy, frowned, her brows seemed pressed down, her eyes disappeared. And yet, she had wonderful, lively eyes, I noticed when she lifted them. But the frame swallowed everything. And I thought then, there it is, unfairness. A woman makes an effort, and one bad thing on her face wipes out all that effort. So, my dear ones, here's your first very practical takeaway. If you wear glasses, and many of us wear them every day for 14 or 16 hours from morning to night, then that's where you should invest, in the frame. In the right frame, chosen for the shape of your face, not in an expensive jar of cream that costs as much as 3 such frames. Do you see the logic? You put cream on in the morning and no one sees it. But everyone sees your glasses all the time. They're literally right there, in the most visible place. This is the thing you really can't afford to skimp on. And don't be afraid that a good frame has to be expensive. Not at all. It's not about the price, it's about the shape. A light frame that doesn't press on your face, that suits your features, can cost very reasonable money. It just deserves a little more attention when you choose it. Don't grab the first pair you see. Try on several, look at yourself in daylight, ask for honest feedback from someone you trust. It's worth it, believe me. The same goes for everything else in this frame. If you color your hair close to the face, let it be softer, warmer, not a harsh black that ages you and emphasizes every wrinkle. The neckline, let it open the neck at least a little because a buttoned-up collar right to the throat often adds years. Earrings, not necessarily expensive, but neat, not tugging at the earlobe. Everything within that 20-centimeter radius works for you or against you. And the good news is, this is the easiest thing to get in order. Start there. Let's go to the second step. And here I want you to listen very carefully, because this turns many women's ideas upside down. The second factor isn't the price of the item. Not at all. It's how it fits you. Remember, the brain of the person looking at you reads the silhouette, the line, the shape, not the label sewn inside. No one can see how much something cost. Everyone can see how it sits on you. And I'll give you an example. No brand names, just a picture. Imagine an expensive silk blouse. Real silk, paid a fair amount for it. But it hangs on a woman like a sack. The shoulder seam has slipped halfway down her arm, and all of that together seems to swallow the shoulders, to make the figure shapeless. And next to it, a simple knitted sweater that cost a couple of thousand rubles. Ordinary, inexpensive. But it fits the figure exactly. The shoulder is where the shoulder should be. The line is clean. And you know what? The second woman in the cheap sweater will look both younger and, pay attention, more expensive. More expensive, even though she's wearing something 10 times cheaper. That's the truth people rarely say out loud. It's not about how much you spent. It's about the fit. Let me suggest a little experiment you can do at home tonight if you like. Take the same turtleneck or sweater and look at yourself in 3 versions. First, when it fits tightly, too snugly. Second, when it hangs like a sack, too big. And third, when it just fits your body, neither squeezing nor hanging loose. And you'll see with your own eyes how the picture changes. Too tight. Everything we don't want emphasized gets emphasized. And for some reason, it always adds years. Like a sack. Your figure disappears, and you seem to hide, to get bigger and older. But when it fits properly, you look slimmer, younger, calmer. The same item, the same money, just a different fit. And pay attention to a few simple points. Where your top ends, that is, at what level your sweater or jacket stops. Sleeve length, it should reach roughly the wrist bone, not hang down to your fingers and not creep up. The rise of the waistband on trousers or a skirt, where the waist sits. These little things, as insignificant as they seem, each shift your visual age by just a year or 2. A year, you might think. But here's the trick. They add up. One small thing, then another, then a third, and together they can make a difference of 10 years. A full 10. From nothing, basically. From simply not paying attention. And notice, my dear ones, everything we've talked about so far doesn't require a lot of money from you. Choosing a frame that suits your face, wearing clothes that fit your body, not just the most expensive ones. It's all accessible. It's a matter of attention, not your wallet, but that's still only 2 steps. Still the surface. What the eye sees right away. And we agreed to go deeper. The next factor isn't about clothes at all. It's about what you do even when you're wearing the most ordinary outfit. About how you move, how you enter a room, how you sit down and stand up. And that's where it starts to get really interesting. Let's move on to the third step. And here we leave clothing behind entirely. Mentally take all the clothes out of your head. We're talking about something else. The third factor is movement and pace. The way you move. And I want to warn you right away. This isn't the usual stand up straight they've been telling us since childhood, the one that honestly makes your teeth ache now. Standing up straight for 5 seconds and then forgetting about it, that doesn't work. I mean something else. Here's the point. A confident walk, a gaze directed forward instead of at the ground, the smoothness of your gestures. The human eye reads all of this as energy, and we automatically read energy as youth. It happens not even in the mind, but deeper down, at the level of instinct. We see lively, light movement, and the brain says, young. We see heavy, careful, constrained movement, and the brain says, old. And the face may be exactly the same. Think about it. The way you walk, the way you sit down and get up from a chair, that especially gives you away. Notice how a woman lowers herself into a chair, lightly or with a sigh, holding on to the edge. How she stands up, in one motion or in 2 or 3 stages, pushing off with her hands. The turn of the head, sharply, with the whole body, or softly, with the neck alone. It's these little movements that create the impression that has nothing to do with cream or clothing. I'll tell you a story, no names, just a real-life incident. I knew one woman who started going to the pool, just for health, on her doctor's advice. And after about 6 months, she began to move completely differently. I didn't immediately understand what had changed, and then it clicked. And here's the most interesting part. It wasn't because she learned to swim well. Honestly, she swam so-so. It was because she started feeling her body in space, understanding where her arms were, where her shoulders were, how to shift her weight. And because of that, her walk became more confident, her movements softer, her back straightened on its own, without any reminders. And she looked younger, without a single visit to a cosmetologist, simply because she started carrying herself differently. And here's my advice, maybe unexpectedly. Don't try to fix everything in one leap. Don't heroically straighten up tomorrow morning and walk around like you're on a ruler. You'll manage half a day, and then it'll all come back, and your back will hurt too. Start differently. Just observe yourself. How do you walk? How do you sit? Where do you look when you're walking down the street? Ahead or at your feet? Just notice, without judgment. Honest, kind observation of yourself is already the first step. When you notice your body, it slowly starts to lift itself. Tested. Let's go to the 4th step, and here we're getting down to details, to those little things where the gap between looks 40 and looks 70 becomes especially huge, because usually no one looks at them intentionally, but they still register. The first detail is shoes. And again, my dear ones, it's not about expense. Not at all. It's about neatness. Shoes can be simple, inexpensive, but they should be clean, intact, with a straight heel, not worn down. That worn, tilted heel is what ages you instantly and says exhaustion, says someone has given up on themselves. And yet replacing the heel tip costs next to nothing, 300 or 400 rubles, and a cobbler will do it in front of you in 10 minutes. Go in, hand over the shoes for repair, polish them up, and they're like new. It's ridiculous money for that kind of effect. The second detail is nails, and hands in general. Remember one thing, a person sees hands right after the face. They're always moving, always in frame, always visible. And 10 minutes a week, just 10 minutes, to file your nails, apply a little oil to the cuticles, and cover your nails with something neutral, calm, nothing showy, gives an effect I, without exaggeration, call -10 years. Well-groomed hands with neat nails make you look incredibly younger. And unkempt ones, on the contrary, give away age faster than the face. So don't forget your hands. They work for you just as much as your face does. The third detail is skin. And here I'll reassure you right away. You don't need 10 jars. You don't need to turn your bathroom shelf into a pharmacy. The secret isn't the number of products, it's consistency. 2 simple steps in the morning and 2 in the evening. Cleanse and moisturize. Every day. Not now and then, not when I remember, but every single day, like brushing your teeth. That simple, boring consistency does far more than the most expensive one-off treatment once every 6 months. And separately, the most important point in any routine, in my opinion. Write this down if you can. Sun protection. All year round. Not just in summer at the beach, but every day. Winter too, and on cloudy days when the sun doesn't seem to be out at all. It's the sun that ages skin the most. More than age, more than fatigue. And a simple protective cream for 300 to 500 rubles, applied every morning, works better than any expensive procedure. Better than anything they'll offer you for big money. That's probably the best investment in your appearance there is. And notice again, my dear ones, change the heel tip. 10 minutes a week for your hands. 2 steps in the morning and evening. Sunscreen for 300 rubles. Where are the big expenses here? Where are the visits to expensive specialists? They're not here. All of this is available to every one of us. It's a matter of attention and habit, not money. So we've gone through 4 steps: the frame around the face, the fit of the clothes, movement, details, and care. And all of that matters, all of it works. But all of that, if I'm honest, is still the surface, the preparation. Because there's 1/5 factor left, the very one, the main one, the one I promised at the beginning and that almost no one guesses. It's not about clothes, not about cream, and not about money. Not at all. I'll tell you about it in the finale. Well then, my dear ones, we've made it to that very summit, the one the whole suspense has been building toward from the start. The 5th factor. The main one. And now I'm going to name it, and you may even be a little surprised because you were expecting something about appearance, but it has nothing to do with appearance at all. The 5th factor is an interest in life. That's all. It sounds so simple and so complicated at the same time. I'll explain how it works, because the connection isn't direct, and that's where the trick lies. An interest in life doesn't smooth out wrinkles. It doesn't lift the oval of the face. It doesn't erase gray hair. No, it does something else. It changes your expression. And a lively, animated, interested face is always read by the human eye as youthful. Do you understand? It's not about what your skin looks like. It's about what's written on that skin. A woman's face when she's interested in everything, when she expects something from tomorrow. It glows from within. It's in motion. Her eyes shine. And that overrides any wrinkles. But a woman's face when she doesn't need anything, when she's made up her mind about everything and shut herself off, that face freezes, turns to stone. And that frozen face ages more than any number of years ever could. Let me sketch 2 portraits for you. No names, no labels, just 2 images I keep in my head. The first woman. She's 63. She's just come back from a little trip. She was on a river cruise several days on the way, and she tells me about it, breathlessly, interrupting herself, her eyes shining. And you know what impressed her most? That there was a workshop right there on deck, and for the first time in her life, she picked up watercolor paints. At 63, painting for the first time in her life. And she shows me a photo on her phone of this little picture she made, crooked and unpolished, and she's beaming as if she'd painted a masterpiece. And in that moment, you wouldn't give her 63. You'd give her 50, no more. Because the face is alive, because something is happening inside her. And the second woman, she's only 52, 11 years younger than the first. Think about that. But she sits at home. She doesn't feel like doing anything. For any suggestion, oh, I'm past that. Oh, it's too late. Oh, the best is behind me. Her face is frozen, her gaze dull, lowered. and you'd give her all of 70. 70 at 52. Because everything inside has stopped, and that's been stamped on the outside. Almost the same age, and the difference, 20 years at a glance. And it's all right here, inside, in an interest in life or in its absence. And now I want to give you a few very simple, manageable steps. Don't be afraid. I'm not sending you parachuting out of a plane. It's much easier and calmer than that. Read that book you've been putting off for later for so long. It's sitting there, waiting. Go somewhere that interests you. Not where you have to or should go, but where you're drawn. A museum, a park, an exhibition, a new coffee shop, anywhere, as long as it's out of curiosity and not obligation. Sign up for any course, anyone that speaks to you. Even painting, like that woman on the river cruise, or a new language, or something completely unexpected. Not for the result, but for the process. And make yourself one tiny habit. Learn one new thing every day. One, small, anything at all. What the tree outside your window is called, where a certain word came from, how to cook a dish you've never tried. And do it not to smooth your wrinkles. Do it for the simple, quiet feeling that the world is interesting, that there's still so much in it you haven't seen. Because, my dear ones, this is where I'm heading. When you're interested in life, your face changes on its own, without effort from you. You don't need to control it, tense it up, or pretend to be animated. It comes alive from within, for real. And then all 4 previous steps: the frame around the face, the fit of the clothes, movement, care, all of them start working at full strength. Because they have something to frame. There's a living, shining person inside. And there's one more thought I want to leave you with at the end. About wrinkles. We're all afraid of them. We fight them, hide them, get upset looking in the mirror. But let's look at them differently. What is a wrinkle at the corner of the eye? It's a trace of how much you laughed. A line on the forehead. That's a trace of how you thought, worried, and truly lived instead of sleeping through your life. These are not traces of exhaustion. They're traces of the fact that you lived, that you had a real, full life with everything it contained. And in that sense, they're not enemies. They're a chronicle, your own. Remember at the beginning we talked about the 2 women at the wedding? The one who looked 48 and the one who looked 70? Despite being the same age? Well, now I think you already understand at what point their paths diverged. It wasn't genes, and it wasn't money. It was that very thing, the light inside. One kept it, and the other let it go out. But, and this is the most important reason I brought all this up, a dimmed light can be lit again, at any age. That's the very turning back I promised you at the start. Age, my dear ones, isn't on the face. It's in the eyes. And when there's light in the eyes, everything else is secondary. Truly. Everything else will follow. Write in the comments one small new thing you'll learn today. Write today, after this video. I'll be so glad to read it. And now I'll say goodbye and wish that the light in your eyes never goes out. Take care of yourselves.